If you know Jesus, most likely there are certain people He's placed in your life that you're hoping to get a chance to introduce to Him. And that's a good desire, since Jesus said in the first chapter of Acts that we're to be His witnesses in Jerusalem, that being our local community. But He also spoke about Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. Now, let's talk about our Judea for a minute. If you were to examine the more than 6 million people in the state of Missouri, you'd most likely find that approximately 3 out of 4 people don't have a personal relationship with Christ. Now, we're to be Christ's witnesses to this Judea, so that means you need to take some time this year and drive around the 4 corners of the state and everywhere else in Missouri and start relationships with people in every single town and let them know about the gospel message, right? Or maybe there's a better way, the Missouri Missions Offering. Churches all across the state are taking part in sending the gospel throughout our Judea by pooling this designated offering together into various statewide ministries. Here's just a few to mention. Youth Evangelism and Missions, International Student Missions Conference, Sports Evangelism, Collegiate Summer Missions and Apprenticeships, Church Planting, Disaster Relief, Hunger Relief, Church Revitalization, the Missouri Baptist Children's Home, just to name a few. I know that's a lot to take in this limited amount of time, but you can check out mobaptist.org/MMO for more info, including videos, the complete list of MMO ministries and what they do, the allocation amounts, the history and meaning of the offering, and so on. So what's the point we're making here? I'm glad you asked. Basically, prayerfully consider if God would have you give to the Missouri Missions Offering, either at your local church or online at the website you see here, and help us to transform lives and communities all across the state with the gospel.
Hello, folks. I'd like to take a minute here to talk to you about the Missouri Missions Offering. Today, I'd like to talk about missions. See, when you give to MMO, you're supporting partnership missions. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, that's good, I guess, but what's partnership missions? Well, it works like this. The Missouri Baptist Convention establishes connections with churches across North America and around the world. Many of these churches are new plants, or could just use some help spreading their message in an area where the gospel is mostly absent. So then you got your local church here in Missouri. This particular church one day was thinking about Acts 1:8, where Jesus gives a call to be His witnesses to places beyond just your local community. And so they decide they want to start evangelizing in some other state, and even somewhere overseas. So they call up the MBC and say, hey, we don't know where to go. Give us a recommendation. Then the MBC says, well, how about Minnesota, Wisconsin, Mexico, or here you go, Italy. That's where First Baptist Church of DeSoto went, a northeastern Italian town called Pizzoletta, where the gospel was desperately needed.
The spiritual condition, many people claim to be Roman Catholic, and that's their heritage, and they're Italian, so of course they're going to claim that. But when you begin to really get to know people and have conversations that are beneath or below surface level, you find out they haven't been to church in a very long time.
We found that most of the people we talk to don't really have any basis for that other than maybe a heritage, and professing evangelicals is way low, less than 0.5%.
Okay, now think back to what you were doing in November last year. Most likely you were looking forward to Thanksgiving, or maybe dreading Thanksgiving. But either way, guess what they were doing in Italy? Well, not the same thing since they don't have Thanksgiving over there. However, for those from DeSoto who were heading there last November, they were still thinking about it.
As we met with the church and we're trying to figure out a way to minister and reach out, the translator that was with us is a very spiritual young woman. She suggested, hey, I have an idea. Everybody likes to eat. And so maybe you guys can come over and do a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, because people will come for their curiosity. And then we'll take the opportunity maybe at that time to present the gospel.
And it was about 80 or 90 people, somewhere in that range. And the church folks there at Pizzoletta said that it was about a little more than half of the people that came to the meal were not members of the church, and most of them were not professing believers. So it turned out it did exactly what we had hoped, which was it brought in people that were not a normal part of their church. It didn't turn into just a church fellowship with a handful of people from the community.
The relational aspect was huge, and then a significant number of the invited people actually came to church service the next day.
It's because of the support from givers like you that so many Missouri churches have had this opportunity to transform distant lives and communities with the gospel. So won't you join me in giving to the Missouri Missions Offering this year? Hello, folks. I'd like to take a minute here to talk with you about the Missouri Missions Offering. Today, I'd like to talk a little about Vacation Bible School. See, when you give to MMO, you're supporting training for volunteer leaders for VBS. This year, training took place in 3 locations, preparing VBS volunteers from all over the state to effectively share Jesus with kids. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why spend money on training volunteers? Why not just give them instructions when they show up?
That's what I was thinking.
Vacation Bible School training is an integral part of what we do to be ready for VBS. It is a statistic that for every person trained, a child comes to know Christ through Vacation Bible School.
Is the teacher guide easy to use, to follow, and understand? Yes, but when you come, and a lot of times you have new teachers, well, any training you can give them help them feel more comfortable, more confident in what they're doing. It's going to be a better experience for them, and plus what happens in the life of the child that week in Vacation Bible School.
So, is having Vacation Bible School as necessary as funding missionaries? After all, missionaries often take the gospel where no one's ever heard it. Can VBS do that? Don't we already have children's church and Sunday school to teach our little ones?
Every summer we see children come to Vacation Bible School that are unreached children, many of whom do not know the name Jesus, let alone who he is or what he has done for us.
There are kids who you're not going to reach on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night, but they will come to Vacation Bible School and they will participate in the activities and they will get to hear Jesus for perhaps the first time in their lives.
Sometimes parents drop their kids off because it's, quote, babysitting. But you know what? For that 15 hours, our teachers are loving on the kids. They're presenting the Word of God. So yeah, VBS is important because what it does in the lives of the children who this may be the only gospel presentation they have for the year.
It's because of the support from givers like you that the quality of VBS leaders is improved to more effectively transform young lives with the gospel. So won't you join me in giving to the Missouri Missions Offering this year? Hello, folks. I'd like to take a minute here to talk with you about the Missouri Missions Offering. Today, I'd like to talk a little more about missions. See, when you give to MMO, you're supporting Missouri's Women's Missionary Union. That's these ladies here. This was their annual meeting they had earlier this year. That's where they learn about and offer their resources for missions. One pretty cool thing they did was some work projects, including making salvation bracelets for missionaries in Mexico, prayer walking, organizing donations at a food pantry, writing encouraging letters to missionaries, and even cleaning at a safe house for battered women and children. We can't show you that one for security reason, obviously, but still pretty cool, right?
So we were just trying to reach out and share our love and our devotion and just our encouragement to these groups. Some came from around the state, some came from Springfield, and so it was just a good time to get out and minister to each group.
And if your kids happen to know more about Missouri's mission work and missionaries than you, it's probably because you've sent them to Mission Friends, Royal Ambassadors, Girls in Action, Challengers, or ACT Teens. It's because of the support from givers like you that WMU has a foundation to exist and operate, as well as enable many more mission opportunities locally and worldwide to transform lives and communities with the gospel. So won't you join me in giving to the Missouri Missions Offering this year?